Before I get this video started, I just want to get one thing out there. I am basing this video, and I'm basing the rosters for this video off of the rosters of February 16th. So before the Machado signing. The reason for that is because if I decided to factor that in, it would throw everything out of whack. It would throw the whole order of this series out of whack because I would have to do new predictions and redo the order and start this over, just do all that. So I'm not going to be factoring him in for this video. I'm just pretty much going through these entire teams for their personnel and what their rosters look at the time, but really for their personnel and what they could look like. So these are just pretty much my 1.0 predictions. My 2.0 predictions will factor in the Machado signing for sure, and it'll come like right before opening day. Sometime before that, I'll do a preview, and then I'll do a predictions video after I do the preview video. But as of right now, I mean, if you guys want to know my thoughts on the Machado signing, then you can click on the card. It'll flash up somewhere. Gonna finish this 30 teams in 30 days series, despite the fact that players haven't signed. I just wanted to get this started earlier on, just before they get to the Japan series, because then I will have to do some different things for that as well. So that's why I'm going through all of this. But otherwise, enjoy. Are the Padres going to be any better? 30 teams in 30 days continues. Number 28 out of 30 upcoming. In terms of the additions, Ian Kinsler was signed away from Boston. He also played for the Angels last year before he was traded to Boston for a 3-year, $3.67 million contract on average, and that year 3 is a club option. Greg Garcia was picked up off of waivers from St. Louis. Garrett Richards signed away from the Angels for 2 years and $15.5 million. The subtractions, AJ Ellis, he retired, so pretty much finished. Freddie Galvis went to Toronto. Corey Spangenberg went to Milwaukee. Galvis and Spangenberg were excess goods, and AJ Ellis was pretty much excess goods as well, but he's just calling it quits. So, not much going there for re-signings either, not anything going for re-signings, at least when it comes to unrestricted free agents, so nothing there. And so now we take a look at the lineup. The projections are based off of BaseballReference.com's projections, or no, they are BaseballReference.com's projections. We start off with Ian Kinsler. He should be a good glove. He doesn't have the same bat that he once did. His days with the Rangers of having a 350 OBP and hitting for 30 home runs in a season are over, but he should still be a good glove and a stopgap in that sense before guys like Tatis Jr. come up. And then when it comes to Luis Urias, he did have his rookie struggles, and he may struggle in his first full season, so, I mean, not much there either, but he does showcase some good potential. Eric Hosmer, minimal protection, a bit overpaid last year, I might add, because he was paid based off of his 2017 season, and not for his inconsistencies in years prior. And then Will Myers, only a couple of full seasons, so hard to tell where he's going, but he can provide some pop if he performs throughout the whole season. Hunter Renfroe will hit a few home runs and doubles, and Franchy Cordero, extra speed and glove. Austin Hedges, just a generic defensive catcher that you see nowadays, and Ty France did well in the minors, but we'll see how he does in the bigs. As a whole, I give this lineup a grade of a C+, because I do like some of the pieces that they have, but it's nothing game-breaking per se. On the bench, Francisco Mejia, better offensively than Hedges, should probably get more starts as he starts to perform in the season. Greg Garcia is an extra depth piece that can get on base and can play multiple positions in the infield. Perella did struggle a bit last year, and so not much going there. Margot seems a bit similar to Billy Hamilton, and Travis Jankowski hasn't shown much. So, bench, pretty okay. Nothing too much offensively there. The key minor leaguers, not much better. Tatis Jr. looks the part and could be a huge contributor this year, but otherwise, there's just Franmil Reyes, who could be an asset or a future key piece depending on whether they choose him or Hunter Renfroe. And otherwise, I mean, Chris Stewart, just an extra glove at best, and Gear has not performed, or he has not gotten many big league appearances. And then Boog Powell hasn't really panned out in the bigs. Alex Dickerson, just an extra depth piece. It looks like he's going to be injured, but as a whole, I give their depth a grade of a D, which includes their back end of the lineup from 5 to 9. When it comes to the rotation, it is not looking too good there either. They have a couple of guys that are like reliever starters, like Robbie Erlin and Brian Mitchell, and Joey Lucchesi. I'm suspicious about him. We'll see how he does in his second season. Eric Lauer didn't have a good rookie season, and Perdomo has not been good in his own right, so rotation gets a grade of a D. The key minor leaguers, they do have a couple of guys that I think could be sneaky good in Logan Allen and Chris Paddock, because they've performed well in the minors, and so if they continue to develop and perform well in the bigs, or continue to develop and then perform well at AAA to start the year, they could come up and be key contributors. And otherwise, I can't get much of a read on Jacob Nix, and I'm skeptical about Cal Quantrill. And so the depth, I was undervaluing it going into looking at this roster again. I had it at an F, but now I put the grade as a D. In terms of the bullpen, there were plenty of guys that had career years last year, or excellent seasons last year. Kirby Yates was one that had a career year. Robert Stock also had a career year. And Craig Stammen, excellent season last year, and Stram had a bounce back year. And a lot of these guys, they slot in to be a bit sketchy, specifically Winginter and Castillo. And Brett Kennedy was not good in a small sample size, but Baseball Reference seems to think that he will be okay for them this year out of the bullpen. But overall, I give it a grade of a B-. Originally I had it as a B+, but I think it's more solid than above average, so B- for their bullpen. In terms of their depth, they have a couple of guys that are not very good. Miguel Diaz and Gerardo Reyes not seeing much, and Kazuhisa Makita, he did not do very well. He did a lot worse than I expected last year. Carlos Torres, new acquisition, just extra depth piece, didn't play well that year though, or didn't play well last year though. Phil Matan underachieved a bit, but Brad Week could be okay if he gets called up. As a whole, which is pretty much from the middle relievers on to the minor leaguers, I give their bullpen depth a grade of a C. In terms of players that are injured, Dinelson Lamet and Garrett Richards both have Tommy John surgery. Lamet projects to be out until midway through the season though, as Garrett Richards projects to be out for the entire season. So, a couple of pitchers looking like they're going to be out for some time. And in terms of the coaching staff, Andy Green hasn't done too much, but he hasn't had much to work with, so give him a grade of a C. Their hitting coach, their new one, got a weird promotion. Johnny Washington gets a grade of a C, because I don't know how he's going to do, so I'm just going to leave it in the middle. Their pitching coach, Darren Balsley, should be replaced at some point in the near future, because it seems like their pitching has started to fall off, and so he gets a grade of a D+. Their bullpen coach, however, Doug Bachler, I think that's how it's pronounced, he's done a very good job with the bullpen since coming along in 2016, and so I give him a B+, because it's been the least of their issues over the past couple of years. So as a whole, pretty okay coaching staff if you ask me. And now with their schedule, they do face everybody in the NL West 19 times. They face all opponents except for the Giants 9 times at home, 10 times on the road. In terms of the rest of the NL, they do face the Braves 3 times at home, 4 times on the road. Same goes for the Brewers. Otherwise, they face every other team 3 times at home, 3 times on the road, aside from the Mets, Cubs, and Reds, as well as the Pirates. And they're going to have to capitalize on facing off in their own division, as well as capitalizing on some of the lesser interleague teams, like against the Mariners, whom they face 4 times as every year, 2 times at home, 2 times on the road. Same goes for Baltimore, 2 times at home, 2 times on the road. Gonna have to capitalize on those 2 matchups per se, because then they face Boston at home, but for 3 games, and they face New York, the Yankees, on the road for 3 games, and then they host Tampa Bay, also another tough matchup, but they could maybe get some advantages being in Petco Park. And then Toronto, they go on the road. That should be a pretty tough series for them as well. And now it's time where everything falls apart. Record predictions. And so with Bleacher Report, they have the Padres going 77-85, Bit of an interesting record with this current roster, but RotoChamp has them going 74-88. Also a bit interesting, I think that's a bit high. And then Fangraphs has them going 76-86. Another pretty high prediction. And then Pagoda 75-87. So all four seem like high win projections. The over-under is 77.5 wins. I'm going way under, 61-101. Just this roster as a whole, I mean, honestly, looking at it a second time, I think I might do this a little bit higher, or, give them more wins at around high 60s, maybe low 70s. But to me, they're just banking on a lot going right, and they have a lot of suspicious things with that rotation as well as the lineup. So that's sort of what I was going through at the time when I did these predictions, and that's why I think that they're going to go 61-101 and just be beaten up by some of the better teams in the National League, as well as some of the better teams in the American League. And so that'll do it for this video. My Twitter will be on the screen, both of my accounts, my personal on the top and my YouTube updates one on the bottom, more professional one per se, and I am going to be setting myself up for slander in a couple of years, or in a couple of months, based on this prediction, probably.